If you're a fan of Destiny, you'll no doubt be buzzing about all the brand new Destiny 2 gameplay that Bungie released at a recent reveal event. Thanks to that event, we now know there'll be new planets to explore, new subclasses to play around with, and loads of new exotics to grind for. What you might not know though, unless you're old like me, is that 32 years ago another game called Destiny was released. Only this one didn't let you do silly dance routines every time you completed a strike mission.
Had the Red Legion achieved their goal, I estimate a 60% chance this planetoid would have been destroyed in the ensuing battles.
Huzzah!
This is Destiny by Jeff Pierce, a very unique game that blends your standard text adventure with point-and-click gameplay mechanics. It was released for Apple II computers in 1985 by Destiny Software Limited, in conjunction with Software Investment Plus Incorporated, and was converted to the Commodore 64 that same year by John A. Fitzpatrick. Now, as you can probably tell from some of the stuff on the Kallax behind me, I like to collect physical editions of all of the retro games that I play, but Destiny is such a rarity that the only evidence I could find of a physical edition actually existing was some low-res scans of the C64 version that I found archived on the website of the Museum of Computer Adventure Game History. The cover of the box depicts what looks like your standard Dungeons and Dragons style adventure game. Centre frame, there's a table full of lovely loot, and surrounding that is a horde of nasties, ranging from skeletal warriors, winged beasties, a dragon that looks like it's just heard an incredibly amusing joke, and a pair of orcs that seem to be wearing their hair in pigtails. Not the most intimidating of foes there. Dominating the image though is a large human hand, index finger extended, pointing at all the action. That's meant to be you, that is, pointing and prodding your way around the screen with a little pointy-fingered mouse pointer, trying to find a point to your very dangerous mission. And what a mission it is! According to the blurb on the back of the box, it falls on you to enter the once prosperous land of Adventura to liberate the kingdom from the invincible red dragon Faldrakrin and his army of mighty Orcan warriors. The mission, the box says, is complex and difficult and has only been attempted by one other man, Sir Marcos Dracos, who unfortunately never returned. I guess that means we'll probably find his bones sticking out of a giant mound of dragon poop somewhere along the way. A stinking corpse isn't the only reminder of Sir Marcos though. He also left behind a diary full of clues that chronicled his unsuccessful search for Destiny. Good luck trying to read it though, the diary isn't actually included in Destiny's manual. Instead, anyone wanting the clues provided in Marcus's journal would have had to have sent a stamp-addressed envelope to a P.O. box in Appleton City, Missouri. That's located in middle of nowhere, America. There's about 1,000 people that live there, it's tiny. So, what was written in Marcos's diary? Well, unfortunately, it looks like there's no real way to know, because as far as I can tell, there are no surviving copies left anywhere on the planet. I mean, maybe there's a couple hidden away in some attic somewhere gathering dust, but as far as the internet's concerned, it straight up just doesn't exist anymore. So while Marcus's story may forever be a mystery, we're still able to experience the full 1985 version of Destiny thanks to the power of emulation. It's interesting to note, by the way, that the C64 version of Destiny was actually disc-based, another reason why this game is so rare. C64 disc drives were sold separately, and so the number of people that actually owned them, and in turn this game, was rather limited to say the least. Anyway, this here is the Apple II version of Destiny, the original version of Jeff's game. There's a load of neat features in here, things that were quite unique and ahead of their time. For instance, once the game has loaded, you're given the option to watch a demo play out. It's only short, but it's worth watching as it shows off the basics of the gameplay, including navigation, combat, and buying equipment. The C64 version here has the same demo, but played side by side you can see some slight differences in the graphics. In the credits for the Apple II version it says pictures created using Graphics Magician. That's a utility that was often used to generate images for graphic adventures on the Apple II, so presumably the graphics for Destiny on the Apple II were done by Jeff himself. John A. Fitzpatrick is credited for both the graphics and programming of the C64 version of Destiny, and while he followed Jeff's original images closely, you can still see quite a few differences here and there, with the C64 version allowing for brighter colours and slightly more detail. As a side note, John Fitzpatrick was actually a rather prolific developer for the C64. He worked on the graphics and sound for quite a few big releases, as well as programming his own games, including his most acclaimed title, the very trippy Alice in Videoland. See, I told you it was trippy. Anyway, it's about time I talked a little bit about the gameplay, because as I mentioned earlier, there's some very cool features in here that set Destiny apart from other games of its type. Firstly, the control scheme for Destiny is rather peculiar. Point-and-click graphical adventures were very rare in 1985, but because the Apple II came with a mouse, it looks like Jeff programmed the game with mouse controls in mind. The C64 version plays exactly the same way and has the same pointy finger mouse pointer, but without a mouse, the game had to be controlled via joystick, which could be a little fiddly. Instead of typing commands, in Destiny you click on one of the compass directions to move your character, or click on a verb in the command menu and then somewhere on screen to perform that action. For instance, selecting Get and then clicking on the crack in this rock will put some torches into your inventory for use later. Other novelties in the game include an inn you can stay at to recuperate from your injuries, and a player character who ages as the game progresses. The more moves you make, the older your character gets and the weaker you'll become, meaning you'll need to plan your approach accordingly to minimise the amount of moves used. The most interesting thing about Destiny though, and the thing that makes it so tough to play, are the random enemy encounters. Enemies will appear out of nowhere and they attack you frequently, and it can often be quite hard to defeat them. There are three options you can choose from when tackling these creatures. You can either try to run, which isn't always successful, you can go for the kill but risk taking a lot of damage, or you can bribe them with some gold and hope they take it and scuttle off on their merry little way. The coolest thing about the combat with enemies in Destiny though is how any damage they take is visibly reflected in the character art. In this battle with a demonic apparition for instance, you can see I lopped off one of his horns before finishing him off with some brutal stabs to the gut, arm and upper thigh. Obviously, it's not the most detailed damage model ever, but I do appreciate the effort Jeff went to add a little bit of extra personality to the static images you face in standard graphical adventures. In the end, I never did manage to defeat the dragon and complete Destiny, or find out what happened to Marcos Dracos. I tried, but the game is really tough and the emulated controls were a nightmare to use, so I just gave up after I got my face smashed in by a giant troll. A giant troll who, judging by the following screen, then was respectful enough to bury me in a grave before decorating it with a lovely headstone and some flowers. What a nice gesture, I guess. So there we go, that was the Destiny game that you never knew existed. Sure, it's a far cry from all the grand adventures of the Destiny games we play nowadays, but still it's a lovely, original curiosity that dared to be slightly different and tried to push the boundaries in the early days of video games. If you enjoyed this little look at a long-lost Destiny game, you might be pleased to hear that I've got a few more episodes of games you never knew existed in the pipeline. So do give this video a like and subscribe for more from Eurogamer. Also, if you're a Lord of the Rings fan, why not check out the video that's on screen right now, where I talk about the Shadow of Mordor game that you never knew existed. Thanks for watching and have a great day. Goodbye.